Today, the day I'm filming this video, marks the 15-year anniversary of the most humiliating day of my life. And to celebrate such a momentous occasion, I decided it's finally time to tell the story in full. Not because I enjoy reliving the moment that Dave Portnoy publicly executed my ego on the front page of Barstool Sports, but because the lesson it taught me is something that every guy watching needs to learn. This is a story of how hitting rock bottom gave me the greatest gift possible: complete freedom from caring what anyone thinks. What's up, guys? I am Rob Judge, and this week it's going to be a bit different from the videos I usually post. But if you stick with me to the end, it'll be worth it, and here's why. If you've ever hesitated to take a risk because you're afraid of what people might think, this video is going to grab you by the nutsack and wake you up. I'm about to share a personal story so humiliating, so brutal, that most self-respecting men wouldn't even admit it happened, let alone put it up here on YouTube. But I'm not just telling you this story because I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm telling it because the lesson I learned from being publicly obliterated by Dave Portnoy is the single most liberating mindset shift a guy can have. If you've ever felt like fear of judgment is holding you back, this story will change the way you see yourself and the world forever. So buckle up and picture this. It's December 2009. And I am the youngest employee at a conservative medical publishing company in Manhattan, spending my days editing biotech news stories, but I'm also living a double life here. By night, I'm writing dating articles for TSB Magazine, an up-and-coming men's lifestyle site run by none other than Bobby Rio. Now, I didn't know Bobby well back then, but I did have a tremendous amount of respect for him. And this guy was paying me $30 per article, which is not exactly retirement money, but I was finally getting paid to write about what I loved. And more importantly, I was building an audience. Guys were actually reading my articles and writing to tell me how my advice was helping them out. Now, this validation, combined with some modest, or maybe not so modest, success filming hidden camera infield pickup videos for a website called PickupTube, and yes, a website devoted to hidden camera footage of guys talking to women, was actually a thing back in 2009. I know it was a crazy time. Had given me what I could only describe as a terminal case of hubris. And I think we all know that stories about hubris, these stories never end well. So one night, where I was clearly high on the fumes of my own perceived greatness, I decided it was time to expand my brand. And this prompted me to craft what I thought was a compelling pitch letter to various men's publications. And since I'm going all in on the self-flagellation here, I went ahead and printed out this cover letter. So let me read you some highlights. And remember, this is a real pitch, a professional pitch that I actually sent with a straight face to multiple publications. I am a professional writer first, dating instructor second. I will augment your publication success by adding a fresh, cutting-edge perspective to your men's dating column. Yeah, that's like saying I'm a superhero first, I'm Batman who lives in his mom's basement second. Pure delusion served with a side of audacity. But wait, this gets even better. Currently, I work full-time as an editor for a B2B genetic engineering magazine. I have tens of hours of footage. Tens of hours of footage, with everything from flirtatious banter and phone number exchanges to makeouts and one-night stands. Oh my God! Yeah, that's right. I was so lacking in self-awareness that I basically wrote, "Dear Sir, Madam, my diverse skill set includes secretly filming myself hitting on women at bars, as well as checking for Oxford commas in think pieces about recumbent DNA. Please hire me." As you probably already figured out, one of the publications I sent this masterpiece to was Barstool Sports. Now, I need to stress something. I had no idea what Barstool Sports was back then. In 2009, they weren't the media empire that they are today. But more importantly, and let's be honest here, I was just an idiot who didn't bother to spend 5 minutes doing some research before spamming out my dating guru manifesto. And that's exactly why it ended up in the inbox of a guy who runs a site that specializes in ruthlessly mocking exactly the kind of person I was presenting myself as. So shortly after I mailed all this off, I actually got an email from Mr. El Presidente himself, Dave Portnoy. And all the email said was, "Thanks, but we'll pass." And my response, 2 words: your loss. Yeah, I actually wrote that to Dave Portnoy. It's like going to a Mike Tyson press conference and screaming to put Mike in a straitjacket.
Put your mother in a straitjacket, you punk ass white boy.
It's not a good idea. The universe was loading up a haymaker, and I was standing there with my chin out. So I woke up the next day, which started like any other day. I went to work. I pretended to pay attention at meetings about gene expression pathways while secretly checking the comment section on my latest dating advice article under the table. And around noon, I did what I always did around noon, and I stepped out for lunch. When I came back to the office, that's when I realized something was wrong. Everyone in the office, and keep in mind, this was a legit office space. There was well over 100 employees. There was several departments. So we're talking everyone from marketing, sales, digital, and of course, editorial. They were all standing around and they were all looking impatient, almost like they were extras in some kind of disaster movie. And I very quickly found out why. The internet was down after our servers had crashed. Now the IT guy, and you have to picture the comic book guy from The Simpsons, but in a Tim Tebow jersey. He announced that he was investigating an unusual surge of traffic to our website. Now keep in mind, our website that normally got about 12 visitors a day, and these 12 people wanted to read technical papers on CRISPR technology. So it was very suspicious. But anyway, I'm standing around with the rest of my coworkers, and I'm waiting for the Tim Tebow loving IT guy to figure out what's going on here. And then my phone starts buzzing. And I saw, and keep in mind, this is a flip phone, so I looked down and I saw the LED screen. And I saw it was a text from this guy Gene. We used to call him Mean Gene. I hadn't spoken to Mean Gene since college. And when I flicked open the phone, Gene's text ominously read, "Dude, that can't be you." Confused, I was in the process of writing back, asking what he was talking about. And keep in mind, again, when you write a text on a flip phone, you have to spell out each letter on the numeric keypad. So writing out a full sentence, it takes a hot minute. But before I could even finish, Gene had already sent me a follow-up text, which was even more ominous. It read, "My God, it is you, LOL." Shortly after that, a girl that I had been seeing at the time, she just wrote WTF, followed by a text from my cousin, which read, "Wow, you famous, but not in a good way." Again, remember, this is 2009. Let me remind you of the technology back then. A flip phone isn't a smartphone. All you can do is actually use it like a phone. You can make calls, maybe you could play 8-bit games like Snake on it, and you could kind of maybe send text. But what you certainly could not do with a flip phone was connect to the internet. So I had no way to check what they were all talking about. But my thumbs were frantically trying to figure it out, moving across that keypad. But every time I was in the middle of writing out a simple sentence like, "What are you talking about?" I got interrupted by another buzz, by another incoming text, by another person who seemed to be telling me some kind of really bad, ominous news. And that's when I started to get that feeling in the pit of my stomach. That feeling you get when you realize that something very bad is happening, but it's too late to do anything about it. But at this point, my heart's pounding, my hands are shaking, I'm trying to piece together what the hell is going on, and I'm getting lightheaded, I'm feeling kind of dizzy, and that's when the IT guy, he hauls himself up on a desk, and he's probably teetering slightly as he stands on his tiptoes, and with 2 fingers in his mouth, he blasts out this piercing whistle that instantly silences everyone in the office. Then, cupping his hands around his mouth, he shouts, "Internet's back up! Everyone back to your desks!" Then he pauses, glances right at me with a sly grin, and adds, "And make sure to check your email." So everyone, they make a beeline for their desk. Everyone's curious to find out what caused all this commotion. Why our nerdy little magazine suddenly had a server crashing spike in traffic. And sure enough, first email in my inbox was from the IT guy. And he mass emailed everyone with a subject line that read, "Read immediately. Reason for outage." When I clicked the email, the IT guy explained the surge in traffic came from the website, you guessed it, Barstool Sports. And of course, he included a link to the exact post that drove all the traffic that crashed our servers. A post that began with the headline, "Should we give this professional pickup artist a gig at Barstool?" Under the headline was a picture of me. Picture I recognized because I'd taken it on a pink digital camera that I'd borrowed from my little sister because I wanted a professional headshot, which I, of course, included with my pitch letter, thinking it would make me seem like a more serious writer. But when I saw that picture on Barstool, I realized that I looked more like a serial killer sitting for a mugshot. But that was nothing compared to the copy that came next. Dave Portnoy, he hadn't just rejected my pitch, he had published my entire email, my writing portfolio, and my resume. And he went through all of it line by line with surgical precision. Here is an actual quote. And you gotta imagine this in like the Dave Portnoy Boston accent. Like, if I could pick one guy who totally just got chicks, a genetic engineering and biotech magazine is the first place I'd look. But more importantly, when you get a chance to ink the guy that wrote How to Flirt with Girls, a guide to frivolous foreplay, and yes, that is an article that I wrote that I included in my writing resume, that's a no-brainer. There has to be a word for that feeling when someone is roasting you so hard and it's objectively hilarious, but you can't laugh because, oh right, you're the one getting roasted. There probably is a word for it, probably a word in German, something like roasted Nischenlagen or Schadenlulz. Anyway, the article ended with a poll. Vote 1 for give that guy a contract, or 10 for let's break this cocky douchebag's heart and not piece it back together. Votes were coming in hot. 8.08 out of 10 in favor of breaking my heart. And the article, that wasn't even the worst part, believe it or not. The comment section was a masterclass in creative insults. My personal favorite is, this guy is the Hitch of the sex offender registry. Meanwhile, my phone kept blowing up. Even Bobby Rio sent me a message, and the message read, LOL, you're getting destroyed, dude. Yeah, thanks for the support, Bobby. The next few hours after that were surreal. HR called me in for an emergency meeting about my professional conduct. The IT guy just teed off on me. This is probably the only time in his life where he actually got to bully someone, and he took full advantage of it, demanding to hear my best pickup line, or he just openly mocked me, asked me, so Rob, what are your field tested techniques for not getting fired? But the moment I'll never forget came when John, who was my boss, and I really had a lot of respect for this guy. He was actually something like a mentor to me. He pulled me aside, and I could see he was like struggling to suppress a laugh as he said, look, this is bad, but between you and me, is this stuff legit? Like, do these lines actually work? So anyway, I slunk back to my desk, I emailed Portnoy, I admitted defeat, and I asked, probably more like begged, if he'd at least take down some of the more identifying details like my resume and that awful serial killer headshot. And to his credit, he did, but the damage was done. That night, I went to bed feeling like my life was over. I had spent years carefully managing what everyone thought about me, maintaining these separate personas, protecting this fragile ego that I had built up. And in one afternoon, Dave Portnoy had taken a sledgehammer to all of that. But here's the weird thing. I woke up the next morning and I felt different. Not necessarily better, but I did feel lighter. Like I'd been carrying around this massive weight, the weight of everyone's opinions. And suddenly, it was gone. Because what was the point? The worst had already happened. My most embarrassing secrets had been exposed. My carefully constructed image had been shattered. I had been publicly humiliated in front of both my professional colleagues and millions of strangers, as well as people I hadn't talked to since college. And yet, there I was, still breathing, still existing. And that's when it hit me. I had been living my entire life in fear of exactly this type of situation. Every decision I made was filtered through this lens of, but what will people think? I had been carrying around this massive ego, this fragile self-image that needed constant protection. Dave Portnoy, he didn't just roast me that day, he accidentally performed an ego death speedrun on me. He turned the volume of humiliation up so high that it broke the damn dial. After that, nothing could faze me anymore. Here's why I'm telling you this story exactly 15 years later. Most of you watching right now are living in a prison of your own making. You're not approaching that hot girl at the bar because you're worried of what others might think. You're not pursuing what you really want to do, pursuing your dreams, because you're afraid of judgment. You're living your life by committee, seeking approval for every move you make, looking for permission with every move you make, hoping that people like every move you make. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. I had to have Dave Portnoy publicly execute my ego in front of millions of people. But you don't have to go through that. The truth is, no one cares what you do nearly as much as you think they do. And even if they did, even if you suffered the kind of epic public humiliation that I did, you would survive. You would wake up the next day and life would go on. After that day, everything changed for me. I started dating hotter women. I built a successful company. I ended up working with Bobby Rio, who went from paying me $30 per article to being my business partner. And eventually, I ended up marrying my dream girl. In fact, the whole reason I'm doing this video is because of that. And this wasn't because I got lucky. It's because I finally stopped giving a what anyone thought about me. And that's why, if I ever meet Dave Portnoy, I owe that motherfucker a beer. He taught me the most valuable gift possible: complete freedom from caring what others think. He did what years of therapy probably couldn't have done. He nuked my ego so completely that I had no choice but to build something better from the ashes. So the next time you're hesitating to do something because you're worried about judgment or criticism, the only thing holding you back is your fear of what others might think. And trust me, that fear isn't worth the price that you're paying for it.